Welcome, everyone. My name's Glennon. I'm going to be your co-host today. We're going to go ahead and get started. And we're really excited to have people joining from all over California. I've seen Glendale, Quincy, Riverside, Los Angeles, Redwood City. I'm so excited to have everyone join us today. I'm going to start sharing my screen. As people come in, please feel free to share where you're coming in from. And we're going to get started. We're really excited today. So a few useful, helpful tips for today. Make sure you're muted. We do love to see you, so please turn your video on. We will be using the chat to collect questions and comments throughout the session, so please be ready to share via the chat. And please complete the feedback survey at the end of today's session. It's so great to have so many of you with us today, and we're looking forward to get started. Today, I'm really excited. We're going to build a little bit upon what we've been talking about during the last couple of episodes. We've had a focus on observations and supporting language learners with making observations with some scaffoldings last week. And today we get to shift towards actually doing some doing of the science and doing some building. Here, and it'll come up again later, is a list of suggested recycle bin supplies and junk drawer tools that you can use. Today we are going to actually build a prototype of a robot, and so we're really excited to do that. A couple of other items before we really jump in. We would love to hear how you're using Lunch Bites, what you're doing with Lunch Bites, so please hit us up on social media. And we do have a prize that we're going to give out weekly, and we have a prize today for somebody that has shared with us how they're using their Lunch Bites. So really excited about that. Also want to share with everyone that the CDE Foundation has started in partnership with the Governor's Office and the California Department of Education, the California Bridging the Digital Divide Fund. And this is a fund to really make sure that internet and devices are accessible to every student in California, and we're working to bridge that digital divide. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Karen Warner.
Thanks so much, Glennon. I do want to welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. And in the next 30 minutes, you'll be getting a quick demo, and we'll have some time to take questions and comments from the chat. We have takeaways for you and have curated some resources. So I think we're going to do a lot in 30 minutes, and I'm glad you're here. It's really a privilege, and I'm excited to introduce to you Nancy McIntyre, who is the Community Innovations Manager of the Robotics Competition Foundation in San Jose. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy and get ready to get super creative.
I think I'm unmuted.
Can you hear me? Yep, we can hear you.
To Glennon and Karen, thank you very much for inviting me. I am Nancy McIntyre. I work for the Robotics Education and Competition Foundation, and I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, I close this, and I can drive from here. There we go. So,
Nancy, we can't see your screen yet.
Not yet.
My screen yet. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Share screen.
There we go. We can see your Zoom window. So once you get into your PowerPoint, we should be in good shape. There we go.
Okay.
We can see.
There we go. Okay. So I work for the Robotics Education and Competition Foundation, and we manage the 26,000 VEX robot teams from all over the world. Today, I should be along with 30,000 students, teachers, and engineers in Louisville, Kentucky for our World Championship, which unfortunately isn't going to happen. But we are going to do a virtual broadcast on Saturday. So if you fall in love with robots, send me an email, and I will send you the link for Saturday's broadcast. But my hope today is to be able to share with you my love of robots, and to give you some tips and tricks utilizing things that you can find that are handy just to get up and started on how to possibly introduce robots to your students, how to introduce some coding. We'll do some pseudocoding, and how to be able to talk about their robots, to draw some pictures of their robots with a writing prompt. So we've got a bunch of things we're going to do. I'm going to talk really fast because that's what I do. And my hope really more so than anything else is to kind of get you excited. You're going to have the resources, you'll have some pictures, you'll have some links, and there's some descriptions of the things that I'm going to build Martha Stewart style, that you'll be able to sit back after lunch and after you're finished with your students and go back and be able to put some of these together on your own as well, because we won't have a whole lot of time. Again, this is a supply list that you've already seen of simple things. I wanted to try to use things that as many people as possible were going to have access to, that they didn't have to go buy stuff, which is where the list of things came through. And literally every one of those things either came out of the recycle bin or the junk drawer in the kitchen, since I knew everybody's got a junk drawer. I gave you a couple standards. So if these may be some new ones, if you're not as familiar working with some of the engineering components, these may be some that you haven't done too much with yet. So I wanted to give you one at the high school level, one at the middle school level, and I think the other two are elementary school level. So I tried to cover everybody at looking at how you can have a design problem and how you can come up with some possible solutions and have to deal with working with different types of constraints. And constraints can be the materials that you have, and constraints can be the time. And so there's lots of different things that can fall into the category of constraints and things to be able to consider as you're doing your build. So I'm going to open this session up very quickly, and I'm going to invite you to be able to use the chat feature. Tell me how you define a robot. Go ahead and go out there and use the chat function and tell us how you define a robot. I'll give you a minute or two, a very quick minute, to get some things up there, and then I'm going to give you a very quick working definition just so we have something to all use to get started.
Something that has moving parts is one that came in. A machine that does a task, performs a task. A robot is a machine that can do a job. Something that can do a task. A machine that has a specific task, senses, thinks, and acts. A mechanical figure does a task with a given command. Lots of ideas coming in here. A robot is something that's programmed to do a specific task. A machine that a creation that can do things that people can and cannot do. So lots of great ideas coming in.
These are perfect. And these are exactly what you're hoping that your students are going to provide to you when you ask them to define a robot. So let's go on and we'll do one more quick question. I give you an answer just so we had something. A machine that has the ability to repeat a simple task over and over again. That'll give us a good compilation of some of the things that were already put up in that chat room. So second question, what problem will you solve with your prototype? Again, go ahead and take a quick minute and scribble down an answer for us and get that into the chat room. And then we'll be able to move forward again. What problem will you solve with your prototype?
We've got cleaning up spills, something that can move stuff, scratch my face, since I'm not supposed to touch my face, folding clothes, getting me a snack, housework, feeding my dog, can turn the light on and off without me getting up, something that can mop, doing repetitive and boring tasks, cleaning baseboards. Lots of ideas coming in today. So we're going to take these ideas and you're going to get to build something, a prototype of some sort. And Nancy, go ahead and kick us off.
Okay, so prototype with wheels can deliver something. A prototype with an arm could possibly pick up something. I like scratch your face. I think that's good. If I was going to build one, I'd want one that empties the dishwasher. So sometimes you have a problem, and everybody has a problem. And a lot of you hopefully will remember this particular scene from the movie Apollo 13. It's one of my absolute favorite clips, and I use it all the time with my students. And they're up in the lunar module, and it's just after they've said, Houston, we have a problem.
We have a situation brewing with the carbon dioxide.
We had a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module.
5 filters on the limb.
Which removed for 2 guys for a day and a half.
So I told the doctor, they're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
This just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole.
Okay, people, listen up. Him upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Get some coffee going, too.
Okay, so let's look at some things from a different perspective. I've got a couple household items that I'm going to end up using today. One is an egg crate that the eggs came in. Actually, the eggs are still sitting in the refrigerator. I needed an extra one, so I had a full one. And if you look at them, they're really kind of cool. It's got a neat design on this side. We've got some appendage possibilities over here on this side. A couple of other things that I picked up out of the junk drawer. I found a couple pencils. I took a container for strawberries. Strawberries are in season here. Plastic lid. And look at what their possibilities are. Forget about what they're used for. Take a look, turn them upside down, think about them differently, and figure out how you can utilize the things that you have in front of you to be able to repurpose them and give them a new life for something else. So I loved MacGyver, watching those as a kid. So please always remember there's a little MacGyver in every single one of you. And as teachers, you can make anything happen with a couple simple ingredients. You just have to have a little faith, and cool things will happen. So I'm going to simply take this container, and I didn't even bother. I just used the holes that are the drainage holes. I threw the pencil in and made it an axle, and I shoved a pencil through. I pre-drilled that hole earlier with the scissor, and put that together so I could do a real simple one.
Hey, Nancy,
yeah.
Do you mind pausing the screen share so that people can actually see what you're doing in front of you?
Sure. Yep, hang on one second.
There you go.
There we go. Am I back on the big screen? Because now
You
I
are.
see you.
Yep, you're on the big screen. You're good. So go ahead and proceed. Yes,
Okay.
you're good.
Because I only see you.
Yep, you're fine.
Okay.
I can see you.
Then
I can see what you're doing. Perfect.
Got it. Okay, so I've got my robot. When I get it all finished, it's got 4 wheels on it. It can drive across. It can carry something because I can open up the canister, and I'll take a little robot, stick him in, and send it on its way. That's a very quick version of our first build. And I've got the directions for how to do that one. Our second build, I'm going to go back to my egg crate. I have already
Nancy,
cut. Yes.
Not to interrupt you, but do you want to talk to people about the design process before you do the demo build?
Yes, I do. That's where I lost my screen. Okay, so let me go back to share screen. Yes. So once you've got a process, or once you've got a problem, you need to come up with a simple process. And I know many of you are probably much more familiar with the scientific process. And the design process is very, very similar. So if you're already comfortable with the scientific process, take a deep breath. And I gave you 3 simple steps. There's lots of lots of different design processes, but I broke it down and I'm using one with 3 simple steps. But it's very, very simple. So if you're already comfortable with the scientific process, feel good that this is going to be almost the same thing. So let's think about what our problem or issue is. The do portion of it is going to be where we're going to do the building. And then the test phase is going to be where we're going to come back and see whether or not it works. If it doesn't work exactly as you hoped it was going to work after your first opportunity, then that's okay. That's not a failure. That means we just go back and we tweak it and we make a new iteration. We go back to think and say, okay, what didn't work quite so well? Let's go back and do again. And then you go back and you do again, and then you come back and you test again. And hopefully the next time it works a little bit better. And then you can go back and retweak and rebuild, and you keep going. It's called an iterative process. And hopefully that's something you can instill in your students. It's okay that the very first time you try something, it doesn't quite work out the way you want. So with that, I'm going to go on to the next slide, and I will show you, that's the strawberry lid and pencil robot that we've already done. And I'm going to go on to, I'll go back to my screen, and I'm going to walk through here's the egg crate. And you're going to, if you've got an egg crate, cut the flap off. Yes.
Everyone, just one thing before Nancy. So at this point, Nancy's going to demonstrate how to build a robot with the egg crate. But we'd love to encourage everyone to build your own design, your own robot. We're going to give you about 4 minutes to do a build, and we're going to hopefully try at the end of the build to do a virtual gallery walk via a Google slide deck. In the meantime, while you're building, you can either build and follow Nancy, you can do your own thing, or if you just want to sit and watch Nancy build something, you can do that as well. But please take this as an opportunity to get creative, have some fun with some recycled materials, and give things a try. And so Nancy, if you want to continue on with your egg build, that would be great.
Cool, no problem. And again, just as Lennon said, take the opportunity, build whatever you like. That's one of the great things about being an adult, is you get to do kind of what works out best for you. And I would encourage you to let your students do that as well if you have the opportunity and the resources. But I'm going to cut the top and the base off my container. I'm going to cut the middle portion of it, this portion, in half so that I've got 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. And it's going to end up looking like this. My next step is going to be that I'm going to feed some string through the top portion of the egg crate. And I'm going to feed that all the way through. I'm going to then feed it through the other half and pull it out the other side. Then I'm going to have an opportunity to very quickly connect the 2 of them. I'm just going to use some tape and mount those 2 pieces together. Along the same time, I'm going to get one of my tubes. I'm actually going to use 4 of these. I'm going to punch a hole in the top of one and the bottom of the other. I'm going to use twist ties, string, or paper clips to be able to fasten those together. Once I've got them fastened together, I am going to have a structure that looks like this. It's going to resemble an elbow. I'm then going to attach my elbow structure onto my base. And I'm going to then have a structure that I'm going to be able to move this little appendage. So let me switch out very quickly and go back to my Martha Stewart version. And so I've got 2 appendages on my elbow structure on the left and right side. I have my string fed through the middle portion of this. And if I pull on my string, I should cause some motion on both sides. So I'll cause motion at least on one side over here. So there's our little robot that could possibly scratch our nose, that has some structure, could possibly pick something up. or could possibly handle something if you needed to. But I'm actually really excited about the opportunity for the gallery to see what you can come up with. Hopefully you've got some different ideas and some neat thoughts of what we can use for some different design options.
So everyone, what I'd like to encourage people to do, if at all possible, and you're welcome as we continue throughout the rest of this session, you're welcome to keep continuing to build. I know many people continue to learn while doing something physical with their hands. But we've created this slide deck, this bit.ly Lunch Bites 6 photos slide deck. And if you want to take a photo of your robot, and you can add it to the slide deck, and I'll show you what mine looks like. I threw mine in, and I was able to make the strawberry rolling crate today, and that's me here right next to my computer with you. But we would love to see other folks throw photos into this. If you have the Google Slides app, it's fairly easy. You can also just straight in your phone get the Google Slides app, or find another way to upload the photo from your computer. So with that, we're going to move on, but don't feel the need to stop building, is what I would say. And so the next slide we have here is about a writing component.
So I wanted to be able to tie this together so that you didn't just have students building something, you had them talking about what robots could possibly do. And at a time when we need some heroes out there, I gave you a writing prompt for elementary school to write about a robot hero and how they do good. If you've got students who prefer to color as opposed to draw, in the next slide I've got a link for a robot that they can color, which also might give them some ideas and some suggestions for what could their robot do. And so maybe that can help them get started. For the middle school students, I gave you a different robot prompt of superhero robots in the community. And here I'm going to encourage them to draw their own robot and give their robot their superpower features, and give them an opportunity. Let them go conduct some research and find out what kind of robots are in their community. And yesterday was trash day. And the trucks that come around here, and I'm up in San Jose, have big arm appendages that come out and lift up and then put the trash cans back down. I'm probably the only one who thinks it's fun to go stand out on the sidewalk and watch them do that. But nevertheless, I still think that's fun to do. So that's a robotic feature. So the students could look at something simple like that. And for the third writing prompt that I gave you the future of robotics based on new job skills that are being developed in the workforce. With what are challenging times that we're going through right now with the coronavirus, our workforce is going to change. We know that already. We know that the students that are in high school and middle school, by the time they finish in college, there's going to be a whole brand new set of robot skills and skills in the workforce that are going to be needed. So I would encourage them to write about the future. What's going to be changing? How are things going to be changing? How can they be part of helping in that change? And encourage them to make some more official sketches, take measurements, write down some more detailed information on their parts to be able to do that. So that's a writing prompt for the high school students.
Nancy, a quick question. Somebody asked, does your robot have to move?
That's a good question. It's helpful if your robot moves, which was why I tried to stick the string in the first one, and I tried to make the wheels on the other one move. Usually it causes something else to happen. So I tried to pick one or the other. I wanted one that would roll, and I wanted one that was going to have an appendage that was going to do some moving. So usually they do create some sort of movement. Good question. And this should take us to the next slide on pseudocode.
Yep. And I'll also add that one of the components of this is there's an opportunity to draw as part of this. You know, we've gone through this really quickly, but you could break this out and have it be multiple steps and multiple things. So we're going to do some quick pseudocoding. You can do it with your robot. If you need to, you can do it with your hands, just walking your fingers. But go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. So if you're new to coding, pseudocode is a really, really good first step. And when I was back teaching, I was still able to do things with peanut butter. And I know that's kind of a no-go anymore with student allergies. And my students used to code something and how to make a peanut butter sandwich. They've also coded how to tie their shoes. But when I taught high school students and they had trouble tying their shoes, I kept looking for other options. So pseudocode is a way to organize your thoughts. It's a simplified way to be able to organize your thoughts. It's often in a written format, and it lays the groundwork for the students being able to start to write codes for the robot. So it can do a repetitive motion over and over again, or travel somewhere, stop and do something. So I'm going to give you a very simple code, and I'm going to read from the slide on the right-hand side of the slide. And it says, go forward for 8 inches. So you can follow along with your finger for 8 inches, then stop. Then turn for 90 degrees, then stop. Then go forward for 8 more inches, then stop. Turn right for 90 degrees, then stop. Go forward for 8 inches, then stop. Turn right for 90 degrees, then stop. Go forward for 8 more inches, and then stop. My follow-up questions, which are back on the left-hand side, are, what did you create? And you can go ahead and put that in the chat if you like. And after you tell me what you created, tell me what the circumference of your shape happens to be. And you can also tell me what is the area of the shape that you happen to create.
So we've got a couple people chiming in with that it's a square, the circumference is 32 inches, and 64 square inches total.
Very good, cool. So that was an easy intro into doing just a little bit of pseudocode, and you can do that with lots of different things. The next one I gave you is pseudocode for a kinesthetic learner. And if I was trying to come up with something that you could use with students, and if they go to Zoom, Skype, or Google Hangouts, or whatever technology you're using to connect you and some of your students, they can be in the same room or they can be utilizing this technology. Write down a simple set of instructions, have one person explain to the other one how to draw a shape using those instructions. They can use a pencil or and paper or crayons. They can switch places. They can hold the instructions up and have somebody else help follow them. If language is an issue, they can also draw pictures and show the pictures as they're going back and forth to be able to communicate to get those instructions across. An extension, if it's safe to do so, have one person walk around and be the robot. Or if you happen to have a rolly chair, kind of like the one that I'm sitting in, you could almost roll around. And I know my students used to love to do that. We would test something out and utilize that as a way to be able to go forward with that. So I wanted to give you a couple different things. I've given you some links to some footage of things that we've worked on to give you a little more of an idea of what we do. If you decide you might like robots and want to do some more stuff, these are some cool things for students to see, some resources to help get you started. The coloring page is up there again. There's a rubber band car, which makes a great base for a robot. It takes a little more than 10 minutes to build, so I didn't do that. Going through the design process, we'll give you some other things. The Apollo 13, one of my favorite stories to read to students is Rosie Revere, Engineer. If it's not one that you know, it's a great book to be able to read to students. And my contact information is there at the end. I'm glad to answer any robot type question that you might have. If you want to see what we actually do, I'll send me a request and I'll send you the link for our YouTube page where we're going to broadcast on Saturday for our World Championship. I thank you very much for your time, and I wish you and your students stay safe and well, and I hope our paths cross again real soon.
Thank you very much, Nancy. For the rest of the group, we're going to stay on the line and answer any questions that you have come up for the chat. I have a few closing out slides, and we'll wrap up in just a minute or two. So we love your feedback. We always appreciate your feedback. It really guides where we go with this webinar series. It really helps inform the topics that we select. So please submit via the feedback form. Our next session next week is going to be Making Thinking Visible with guest presenter Justin from Maker Ed. We're really excited to have Maker Ed. And then in the future, we have, after this is math equity is the next topic after this. Again, we have this Bridging the Digital Divide fundraiser. If you're available to make a donation, we greatly appreciate it. It goes directly to supporting students throughout California. We will be sharing any links or anything that came up in the chat that would be useful as a resource when we conclude and send out the recap email. This is our resource for the week. It's a coding at home program for folks to get involved with. So it's on the slide deck and you can certainly click into that. And then we talked earlier about our social media and sharing out, and I'm excited to announce our winner. This week's winner is Shalini from Victor Elementary School District, and she's going to be getting a copy of the Exploratorium Science Snack Book from a previous episode. And what Shalini has been doing with the Lunch Bites has been sharing it out with all of her teachers via their PD website, and we'd love to continue to hear about how others are sharing out the Lunch Bites in their communities and in their education groups. With that, the STEAM Symposium registration is open, and we are looking forward to having that event in December. And again, here's all of our contact information, and it's at the end of the slides. So great to have everyone with us. Again, this concludes the formal programming, but we're going to stay on the line and answer any questions. I'm going to stop my screen share. And thanks again, everyone. So happy to have you here. Please stay safe. And we look forward to hanging out with you for a few minutes. So if there are any questions while we're here, feel free to put them in the chat and we will try to address them. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. So Anna Nunez is asking, how do you get a copy of the book? You can search for the Exploratorium Science Snacks book on Amazon, or you can get it straight from the Exploratorium website as well. All of the Exploratorium snacks are also published on their website for free, so you don't necessarily need to have the book. Clea is announcing that she really enjoyed the pseudocode for virtual learning. So that was a fun experiment, and we're happy that you enjoyed it, Clea. Do we have any questions while we're all here? In the meantime, I'm going to hop over to the other slide deck and see if we got any other people to share, and we can do a little bit of a virtual walk. Looks like I'm the only person in the slide deck at the moment, but if you have the chance, we'd love to see a photo of your robot, and if you could add it to the slide deck, that would be great. Clea is asking, do we know the topic for number 7? Yes, the topic for number 7, we have a guest presenter, Justin from Maker Ed, and it's going to be focused on how to make thinking visible. for those that are still hanging out, if anyone has their robot and wants to just put it up in front of their camera and show it off, we'd love to kind of just see what you made.
There's a question asked about if there's a specific length of time we should give students to complete this task.
Sure. Nancy, do you want to try to address that? Again, we did this in a very truncated way so that everyone could get an experience. But how do you typically break this out into multiple segments or multiple lessons? Because normally you would have a drawing phase, right? A building phase and a testing phase. So how have you typically seen this done in the classroom, Nancy?
So some of it depends on how much time you have allocated. But literally, I'd probably give them 20 minutes to half an hour to be able to do some of their build things, especially if they're having to make some holes into stuff and gather their supplies and look at stuff. But that's assuming we've already done the design phase. So I probably, depending again, you can probably do 10 to 15 minutes just on the design phase and, coming up with the problem, figuring out how you're going to solve the problem, looking at the resources that you've got. But 15 to 20 minutes probably isn't enough time. They probably need a little bit more time, especially if it's the first time they're ever putting something together. And if you're able to guide them through a couple simple things, kind of like what I showed you in the example with the strawberry container, showing them, this is how something could go together, then they can kind of go off and run on their own. I hope that helps.
That's great. I've seen that in my own experience, that sometimes people without any instructions really struggle and they really like to see some examples before they go. But other times it's fun to make students work with a blank page. And I think it really depends on the age group and what you're hoping to accomplish with a lesson. But giving some examples, but also encouraging this creativity, you can get things that are wildly different and very unexpected when you do a hands-on learning prototyping experiment. So I would encourage people to put some parameters in place, but make it fairly open-ended so that you let the creativity flow for the children. Oh, go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to say, I think you were speaking and you were muted temporarily. But
okay.
Someone said that they wanted to be sure they got the correct registration link for next week, episode 7 with Justin from Maker Ed. So I just put it in the chat. So if there was some confusion on that, what you see in the chat right now, I will take you to the right registration page.
And so Anna Nunez is just making a comment that this could be a great opportunity to involve families in the student learning. Nancy, what is your experience in partnering with parents and having students and parents partner on projects to do this type of learning?
I love the idea. Whenever you can get parents involved in any school activity and being supportive of what the students are learning, I think you get a lot more buy-in. So making this part of an opportunity where they could learn together and build together is absolutely wonderful. And I welcome a chance anytime there's a chance to do something like that.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do a final call for any last questions. Please submit via the chat if you have a final question. I can see some people are still tinkering and working, and that's so great to see. It makes it fun, and I hope you had a good experience. I see Gabriella in particular is working away on her little robot. I'm glad to see you smiling and having fun. So final call for questions before we conclude the call. Again, if you haven't done so already, we'd love your feedback. It really drives where we go with the show, so greatly appreciate it. And if there aren't any questions, I see Shirley asking, can I copy the PowerPoint or link to my folder? The slide deck that we have is meant to be reused, and you can make it, it's a view-only Google slide deck. So you'll have to make a copy, but you're welcome to reuse the slides and do whatever you'd like with them. Again, we'd love to have everyone's feedback. It doesn't appear that there are any additional questions at this time. So we're
Glennon,
gonna,
one person did ask if everybody, if they have any portion of their robot, if they could just hold it up to the screen. She asked if she could just see what people had, where they were right now in it. So if you could just show your work in progress as best you can.
yeah, you can see it in gallery view on the screen is probably the easiest way. It puts people's videos up top.
So there you go, Barbara. Barbara Woods was wanting us to show. So one more time. There you go, Barbara. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you had fun today. We love this, and look forward to seeing folks back again next week. And have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week. And we're going to conclude the call. Thank you so much, and see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.